On today's show, we're continuing with our Media Day interviews. We got some great stuff today. We're going to go back to a couple from yesterday because there's some great comments from Luka Doncic, Reggie Bullock that we definitely want to talk about and get into and explain some of their answers. Then we'll hear from Jalen Brunson about a bunch of stuff. He's got some good stuff. One of my favorite interviews.
A lot of people already reached out saying that Jalen Brunson was our favorite interview of the day. So you get to hear a little bits and pieces of what JB had to say.
As well as Sterling Brown. So there'll be clips of that, and we'll talk all about it on today's Locked On Mavs.
Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor at Mavs.com. The Media Day, man, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris? Couldn't think of another noun. Couldn't think of a noun that was fun.
Oh, well, first off, I want to say...
You don't want to know what I almost said.
I want to say thank you to all the support from listeners over the past, 24, 48 hours. That have been watching all the YouTube videos. If you didn't catch yesterday or the past two pods, we had a booth, a station at Media Day, and they cycled the majority of all the players through. We got to talk to all of them. Nick was just a machine of editing everything and getting every single interview on YouTube. So it's been really cool to see a lot of the interactions and people who reached out. And we've been doing this pod for, this is our 5th season of doing Locked On Mavs. And it's one of the bigger things that we've gotten a chance to do. And we've had a lot of guests on the show, but now that it's crazy seeing the guest list just went up by 15, and we probably had, how many guests have we had in 5 years? 20, 30?
Yeah,
something like that.
We're not real guest heavy, but we just had a whole bunch of them over the last couple of days, just yesterday, basically. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Mavs is free, available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Mavs. So all of our interviews from Media Day are available on our YouTube channel in full. Go to the Mavs Media Day 2021 playlist, and you can just watch them one by one, back to back, and you can hear us ask dumb questions, and you can hear us ask some good questions for sure, and a bunch of stuff through all the players. There's some good ones, some hidden ones that I feel like people aren't giving enough love to. Trey Burke was really good. Moses Brown is getting a lot of love, that video, which I thought Moses Brown was pretty good.
If you haven't watched Moses Brown, we asked the question about dating advice for a first ideal date, and Moses Brown quickly gave a restaurant. He was just like, bam, here we go. It's like he was sponsored. It was quick. It was good. So go listen.
So those are all available on our YouTube channel, but on the podcast, we still wanted to give you guys some content and still actually talk about some stuff and not just play them all through again. So we're going to play some clips and talk about them. So today we're going to talk, hear from Luka on chemistry. We're going to hear from Reggie Bullock and Sterling Brown on defense. We'll hear from Tyrell Terry. I think the big news that kind of, I feel like we broke was that the reason Tyrell Terry was out last season for an extended period of time. And so we want to talk about that and maybe dive into that a little bit more, and then hear from Jalen Brunson and hear some of those clips on there. So if you want to hear the interviews in full, go to the YouTube channel, but we are going to talk about individual clips and answers from players on this podcast throughout the rest of the week. Mavericks had training camp, their first day of training camp on Tuesday. Not a ton to report back. Training camps tend to be that way. A lot of people just talk about, well, we focused on this and everybody looks great and there was so much energy. It's the most energy I've ever seen. I feel like every first day of camp is always, this is the most energy we've ever seen. Just guys are just ready to get back, right? Jason Kidd spoke, Josh Green spoke, and there was a Mavs legend there.
Mavs legend Tyson Chandler.
Ooh.
Super cool seeing Tyson there. All the new assistant coaches, were obviously there. Seeing, Jared Dudley and Christy Tolliver and Sean Sweeney. I mean, the whole new coaching staff. But Tyson Chandler, that's the big takeaway. We heard his name at Kidd's introductory press conference. Haven't really seen or heard much about him yet. We knew he was kind of mentoring Moses Brown a little bit. But in action,
Moses Brown talked to us about that and said some things specifically that Tyson Chandler taught him. And so go listen to that interview if you want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
So, but Tyson Chandler apparently is still mulling over what he's going to do with his, what's his next step. Jason Kidd said that they joked with him about giving him a 10-day because he still looks good, like out there with the guys.
We do need another 5.
They could use another center on this team. Would he be the best defensive center on this team from day one?
The answer is yes. Let's move on.
Whoa! So yeah, Tyson Chandler still mulling it over. He may be an assistant coach. He may not. We're not sure on his situation yet. But all right, I wanted to talk about this clip from yesterday. Luka Doncic talked about chemistry, and Tyrell Terry had another answer about team chemistry and how this season can be a little bit different than last. So let's hear from Luka Doncic first about team chemistry. Playing Slovenia this summer, it was awesome to watch you play and all the camaraderie and seeing you celebrate with everybody. It seemed like that team was really tight. And then afterwards, you talked about the chemistry of that team and how you want that chemistry and that same kind of trust on this team, the Mavericks team. How do you think you go about that as a leader and as the best player on the team?
Yeah, I think you can build that. Obviously, you got to hang out with each other. You got to go maybe to dinners, I think we build that chemistry with Slovenian national team because we're always together, no matter what. We were just hanging out, do whatever.
I found that answer really interesting because it's like you can build chemistry. Chemistry is something that can be built. It's not just something that is immediate. When you think about, we joke on our mailbags, we talk about Locked On Love and we give dating advice and all that kind of stuff. But chemistry sometimes is presented in movies and media and stuff as it just has to click right away. You have to just vibe with somebody immediately. But you can build chemistry. You get to know somebody. You go out to dinners with them, and I was glad to hear him say that it's something that they can actually focus on, and there's some practical things they can do to build it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in any workplace setting that you have, a team, you have a staff that is this I just had this conversation the other day. It's this transactional relationship versus like you're building this relational currency. You're having the fun, you're having the team dinners, you're building all of this currency up relationship wise to when there is a transaction that happens between your relationship to where it's like, hey, let's have a hard conversation, or I need something from you. When that conversation happens, it makes it a lot easier to take place because you've built that relationship currency up. So that's where that team chemistry comes into play, and hanging out, team dinners, all that stuff.
And so Tyrell Terry had an answer when we asked him a question about what was different between his rookie year and what everybody else was telling him that their rookie years were like. And he kind of shared something that I guess we knew about last season and what the Mavs had to do last season, but I didn't really realize it in the moment. After talking to probably all your teammates and other players across the league, what was different about your rookie year than what others have said their rookie year was like? Because your rookie year was insanely different.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. Pretty much every so often the players just be like, yeah, you're not really experiencing a real season, stuff like that. It was just from not being able to go to team dinners, we couldn't even have meals together, we couldn't hang out together, we weren't even sitting next to each other on the bench really, we were 6 feet apart. Just so many things where you couldn't build chemistry early on. It kind of showed last year. We got off to a slow start, and a lot of our teammates were like, we got to do some team bonding and stuff like that, and we just couldn't, so it was tough in that aspect.
They couldn't even do team dinners. It's like you heard all the COVID rules last year with 6 feet apart of the bench and all this kind of stuff. And there's just all these different things that you could hear, but they couldn't even do those simple things that teams always do. And every time I hear a former player talk about their time in the NBA, their time in the league, it's all about, well, we used to go to dinner and it was so great, and the team dinners, and who would pick up the tab, and they always talk about those as something they fondly remember. And the Mavs couldn't do any of those last year.
Yeah, that's when the fun stuff happens. You see the Halloween picture every year, and no Halloween picture last year,
and no trip to Miami.
Yeah, no Miami trip.
No Miami trip. So I thought that was really interesting, those two answers back to back, because the Mavericks are going to be able to build some chemistry this year. And I think that is going to help them a lot, especially with the Luka KP stuff, all that sort of thing. I think that they can build that back up. I think that the whole team can come together and make all of that a little bit better, where, if you have a team dinner, all right, let's sit down and talk about what should we do when KP is open all the time at the top of the key, right? Maybe they break down some stuff like that. So I thought that the team chemistry can be better, should be better, will be better this season, and that should help the Mavericks a lot this year. Coming up, I want to get into some more topics. We got Tyrell Terry telling us why he was absent from the team last year. Reggie Bullock on defense, great stuff from Brunson. So many good things. But before we do, let me tell you about Sweatblock. Oh man, Isaac and I, we're bigger guys. There's certain clothes that are just not flattering on us, and so we have to wear layers, right? you wear layers, and we were wearing layers indoors at Mavs Media Day, and there were times when I was like, I should have used Sweatblock. I looked at Isaac one time during this and said, I regret not using Sweatblock because I'm just sweating right through my shirt right now. You can use Sweatblock. It's doctor created, doctor recommended, works for up to 7 days per use. You get a dry shirt guarantee. They're just wipes. You wipe them under your underarms the night before, and you get a dry shirt guarantee for 7 days. It's absolutely works. I've used it. A bunch of people have used it. They tested it on firefighters. You can get these at sweatblock.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON to get a 20% off. The promo code, again, is locked on. You can get the wipes, the deodorant. There's all kinds of stuff at sweatblock.com. It's also the #1 selling antiperspirant item on Amazon right now. That's absolutely incredible. Go check it out. Try some. Sweatblock.com. Again, promo code locked on. Also, want to tell you about rockauto.com. If you're a do-it-yourselfer and you're just buying your own parts at a chain store or a dealership or something like that, you're just ripping yourself off at this point. Like you can save money, you can save time. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. It's really, really easy. Their catalog is remarkably easy to navigate. It has on the left. I'm on this website right now. The left side has all the makes of cars. There's so many of them. It's incredible that how many makes of cars there are right now. You click one of them, and boom, you're right into the years. You pick the year of your car, and then boom, you're right into the make. And then right in front of you is all the parts that are available for your car or truck. That's all it takes. And they'll be delivered right to your door. RockAuto.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON in their How Did You Hear About Us box so that they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com. All right, Isaac. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are still going to talk about Tyrell Terry, about Luka Doncic, and hear from Jalen Brunson. But make your second listen of the day Locked On Fantasy Basketball, the #1 fantasy basketball podcast. All right, Isaac. Let's hear quickly from Tyrell Terry. Let's do this one right now. Tyrell Terry shared with us the reason why he was absent from a good chunk of the season last year. It was not really spoken. We asked around, but it was not really. I don't think it was widely reported. And so, but Tyrell Terry opened up to us and shared with us, which we were really grateful for.
You obviously missed a good chunk of the season last year. If that's something you can speak on, if you can't, it's no big deal. Or can you shine light a little bit on that?
So I was dealing with some mental health stuff that kind of runs in my family, and I wasn't really aware of that it was creeping up on me. It kind of hit me pretty serious, so I had to take care of that and figure out ways to make myself better in that area. But it was great because the Cuban and the old front office that was here, they were so supportive, and even the Mavs fans were so supportive, even though most people didn't know what was going on. So it made it a lot easier for me.
What would you tell somebody that's maybe in a similar spot? I know for me, when I first went to counseling, the hardest part for me was walking in the door for the first time. It's like if somebody's struggling at home and they're watching this, listening to this, what would you say the first step to them would be?
That it's not just you. For the longest time, I grew up around even my family and friends that we just didn't share our emotions. And I had emotions in high school that I just kind of pushed off to the side because, I was a man, I was a boy, and so now that I see that, I just saw a commercial the other day about NFL players talking about how they were going through some serious mental health stuff and that it took a while for them to, be able to open up, and that I feel like a lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot, but I feel like there's a good number of people out there that are going through the same thing as a male or even a female, but just specifically a male, and that you're not in this alone, and that it's okay to just reach out and you're doing it to better yourself, and so I would just say that don't be afraid because it's not just you. So once I got over that, it was a lot easier for me.
This is big for us. This has been one of our kind of crusades, one of our things that we really want to emphasize on this show is mental health, and to take, mental health breaks to address your mental health. We've both been to counseling. We've both, experienced times when we just feel overwhelmed. And sometimes you feel overwhelmed by things that you're like, this is so dumb. Why am I overwhelmed by this? And you just need to have somebody to talk it out with. And Tyrell Terry ran into that, and it's totally understandable. And I love that he said, Mark Cuban was supportive, and that Mavs fans were supportive of him sitting out, even though they were all in the dark about the reason why he was out. And I thought that was great. It was great on the fan base, and it was great for the organization as well to give him that time, to give him that space, to get him that help that he needed. And now he can turn it into, well, now I can help others.
Yeah, I appreciated his vulnerability and sharing that. He didn't have to share that. They kept that under wraps for the most part of what was going on last year, and just for him to open up and share that, he knows that other people out there are going through similar stuff, and that I loved his advice and what he shared in that second question, and hats off for him to taking these steps. And like you said, we could talk a whole podcast on the importance of mental health, and awareness about it is one of the, especially with family history. I could go on another 20 minutes of that. That's something that I've dove into the past 2 years of my life, of family history and mental health and how that affects me. And just a great answer by Tyrell Terry, and thankful for him to share that.
And the stigma around it, right?
Yeah.
As men, like, we deal with that, like, oh, suck it up, deal with it, right? Like, rub some dirt into it, all that kind of stuff. There are things that you don't have to do that with, right? There are some things you do suck it up and just deal with it, because that's the way life is. But for mental health, you have to talk to somebody, break it down with them, and get with a professional. And so, or a friend, like Ted Lasso says, well, that's what friends are for, to dump all your problems on you sometimes. All right, let's hear from Jalen Brunson now. Let's dive in. He had this great answer, I thought, about the playoffs. His minutes specifically. I don't think we laid out the exact minutes in the playoff series to him, but first 4 games of the series against the Clippers this past year, he played 20 minutes a game. Last 3 games, he played 10 minutes a game. That drop was warranted, and he agreed with that it was warranted. And so we asked him about that and what he has to do this year to try and overcome that, and to try and be on the court at all times.
Look how the playoffs ended, that Clippers series. You obviously didn't play as much as what you would wanted. Right. How did that fuel? Did it do anything this offseason? And like, what do you think is the next level you have to get to when a series like that happens again? You're like, I'm on the floor all the time.
Yeah, just being able to control what I control first and foremost. Even if I was out there for not as much as I wanted to, I gotta still be able to do the things that I know I can do. So, like I said, the coaching is one of the hardest jobs in the world. So he has to make decisions on the fly. So, I mean, there's no bad blood or anything. I just have to be better. It's nothing. I have to be better. I got to be the person who I am, the player I am, and that's what I can control. So it was on my mind all summer. I thought about it the whole time. I couldn't even watch the rest of the playoffs. That's just.
I know Trey said that he's like, man, think about, like, we were so close. If we just got past that series, you have to say, like,
if we got past that series, I mean, we can.
There's no reason why
no reason why you can't think like that.
Yeah.
There's a couple things in there that I just love. The idea that he couldn't finish the playoffs, couldn't watch anything more because it just stuck with him like that. I think that's what great players do, right? They use it as motivation. I love Dan Patrick, and I watch his show a lot. And at the Super Bowl, they have all these great guests. They're always on location wherever the Super Bowl is. They're bringing these great guests, and they had Drew Brees on one time. And Drew Brees came in, and Dan Patrick does a bit every time with his guests. He either gives them like a terrible intro or whatever. This time, they were taking old draft scouting reports on these guys, and they would read all the negative stuff that people said about these players coming into the draft, about Drew Brees, who's like a Hall of Famer, or like J.J. Watt, who's like an MVP, all that kind of stuff. And with Drew Brees, they rode through it and is like, oh, not accurate, like all this kind of stuff that's obviously like doesn't matter because he's Drew Brees and he's done all this stuff and overcome everything. Drew Brees took that scouting report, it was on his sheet of paper, and he put it in his locker and he looked at it and he used it as motivation. And I think that stuff is like what makes great players, to try and find motivation somewhere, to try and take something that was negative, that said negative or that happened to you, and to turn it back into motivation and say, all right, I'm going to overcome this now, or I'm going to They said I was this, I'm going to prove them wrong. That kind of stuff. Sometimes you need that little extra edge. And I think this past playoff series was not an extra edge for Brunson. It's like a whole ass edge like for Jalen Brunson, that playoff series, and how he wants to prove that he can be who he is and be out there next year in the playoffs.
Yeah, you see his face whenever I said, the word fuel. He's like, he just leaned back. He's like, yes. And like, that was it. Because, some players would sit there and be like, that was last year, it's a new, even Dorian talked about it a little bit. He's like, yeah, I thought about it a lot, early on in the offseason, but now it's a, fresh start now. Trey Burke, talked about in his, that Clipper series was kind of a conversation for a couple different players there of if we got past how far we could have gone. And to hear JB talk about that, and even there was a question later on, I don't think we're going to have in a clip, to where he even says, that's on me. Like he even said that about
he
him.
wears it.
Yeah. He's like, yeah. And he said, I let one slip. I let that series. So he's really taking ownership of that. And then it shouldn't all be on Jalen Brunson, but for him to take that ownership, it's cool to see as a player.
And not just pass the buck on to somebody else, right? Not just say, well, yeah,
we all got to get better, which is true.
Yeah.
But he could have said something like that.
Or it was coaching, or just blame something that was like.
So Rick,
he did say coaching is the hardest profession in the world.
Yeah.
Is true. All right, coming up, let's hear more from Jalen Brunson. He had a great answer about being a secondary creator. Some of you have asked, why can't Jalen Brunson be that secondary creator you guys and Cuban have talked about this offseason? So he answered that question directly. We'll get into that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Built Bar. Built Bar, it's a protein bar. It tastes like a candy bar. I got one right here. Grasshopper cookie. I love it. May not be Isaac's favorite, but I love it. And that means that there are different flavors of Built Bars that different people love. There are some that Isaac likes that I don't like. And so you got to try a whole bunch of them. Get the mixed box. And you can use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off at BuiltBar.com on that mixed box. They're always coming up with new flavors. Ooh, cherry lime. Every time I open this website, I feel like there's a new flavor on here. Cherry lime is a brand new flavor you can get on Built Bar. 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, 5 grams of sugar. That's perfect for a snack on the go. You're in your car, you need something to grab real quick. Boom, grab a Built Bar. It's going to give you that protein you need and not cost too much in terms of calories and in terms of sugar. Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15. Also, want to tell you about betonline.ag. It's the fastest and easiest way to put down some money on sports. Front page, of course. Oh, I'm already sick of hearing about it. Brady versus Belichick.
I'm actually all here for it.
You're here for it. You're ready for it? I guess.
I'm a sucker for returns for players.
But the lead up to it, everybody's just gonna talk about the same stuff. I'll watch the game probably and I'll be excited about it. But okay, what do you think the line is right now?
For that Sunday night game?
Yeah.
It'll probably be Tampa.
Tampa is away.
Plus 6.
Patriots are home.
Or -6.
Ooh, 6.5. The Bucks are a favorite. They're getting a little half extra point there. But yeah, that was a great guess. So if you want to put some money on that, you want to get some action, put some extra stakes into this game, especially since it's going to be a huge matchup, go to BetOnline, use the promo code NFL100 to get 100% welcome bonus. Again, NFL100, put some money. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some more topics. We talked to Jalen Brunson. He was a great interview, by the way. Watch the full one on YouTube. Great stuff from him. But here's a great answer from him. We asked him about being a secondary creator and why can't he just fill that role for the Mavs? A lot of people have talked about the Mavs need a secondary creator. They need somebody to come in and get a bucket. Cubans even mentioned getting a secondary creator.
Right.
What do you think you have to do to potentially fill that role?
First, just be myself. Just because people say things like that. I mean, obviously, I see it. It's kind of impossible not to see things nowadays. Everything gets reposted 1,000 times. But, I mean, just be myself. Be myself. Be the player that helped me get here, and be the player that's. I've been taking steps every year, becoming better and better every year, and it's not disrespectful. It's what he wants. He's the owner. He can do whatever he wants. But for me, I just keep finding ways to get better, and keep finding ways to just be yourself. Just be yourself.
Okay, so I want to dive into who is Jalen Brunson? What is himself? When you hear Jalen Brunson say, "I just need to be myself," what do you take from that?
His dating advice.
Was very similar. Yeah, it was. At the end.
So the full, I know we referenced this earlier, but the full interviews of all these conversations are on YouTube. That we asked a bunch.
We're just
of different
shills for our
questions.
YouTube page at this point.
We are. So yeah, the last question we asked Jalen was about dating advice, and he talked about being himself. But I think the thing with him is he is won at so many different levels that it's like you got to stay true to who you are. Never try to be something that you're not. But how do you improve who you are? And I think that's it's just like weird, it's not an either or, it's just it's like an and both type of thing.
Because if you hear, and he mentioned, you see people talk about this, it's reposted 1,000 times, and need a secondary creator. He's all of a sudden he can be in his head, okay, I need to be that and fill that. And then all of a sudden he's like overpassing, right? And not doing the things that make him who he is. But what type of a player is Jalen Brunson that he doesn't really like fill that role necessarily?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a point guard, and that's what he is. So I think that's what he's going to stay true to being a point guard. But but he's also always been a scorer too. Like we've seen him score at Villanova. We've seen him. I mean, we've seen all of his accolades coming out of college. So he's going to score. He's going to create. He's been playing that point guard position for his entire life. So he's going to continue to do that. Now, whether the maximum amount of his strengths is exactly like, can that be what the Mavericks need at the highest of levels? That's what we have to see. Like we got to see it. I mean, he's talked about improving, using that as fuel. So will we get an improved Jalen Brunson this year even better? That's what we got to see that. We got to wait.
Yeah,
for it.
He's always been a little bit more of a score first than like a pass first guard, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way that his game is. That's him being himself, right? And he's really good at it. He was really efficient last year. He was 50, 40, 70, like 50, 40, 80 last year in shooting splits. I mean, that's really, really good for a 25-minute a game player, especially taking like 9 shots a game. So he's good at that, and he did take a step forward. What we've always thought the Mavericks needed was a veteran secondary creator, somebody that has been in the playoffs before, that has been there, that can create for others and also create for themselves. In addition to Jalen Brunson, I want to make that clear, that we think that they need somebody as well as Jalen Brunson, because we think Jalen Brunson could do good things. It's not like we need this guy to come in. We need Dragic or somebody to come in and replace all of Jalen Brunson's minutes. Brunson adds something really great to this team. They just need somebody else to help while Luka is off the court, and to help take some of this shot creation off of Jalen Brunson's hands, even like when he's out there with the bench unit. So I think that you can get both things. You can get Jalen Brunson himself, but then you also, hopefully they'll bring in somebody else, and hopefully it's Dragic. We'll see. We saw him at Media Day. He looked okay. I guess he looked like he was happy.
Who?
Dragic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's Jalen Brunson. He was in great spirits. He had some great answers for us. Here's one of them. Here's one of the great answers from Jalen Brunson. We asked everybody this question, and some people liked it, some people didn't get it. I said, we asked, what's something Luka is not good at? Because Luka is good at so many things, and we didn't mean basketball. I think a couple players took us the wrong way and thought we were trying to get them to trash Luka. But what is Luka bad at? Like, outside of the court, like is there anything? And Jalen Brunson's answer was awesome. Luka's good at a bunch of stuff, obviously, basketball, video games, pickleball in the bubble. We heard stories about. What's something Luka's bad at?
English. English.
It's incredible.
So like, I'll never forget this. I always say this. Luka, like, when like something
if you're listening on the podcast right now, he's like leaning forward at the desk. Usually most players are like leaned back, or they're like kind of away, but Brunson is fully leaned into the desk and is like totally in it with us. And it's just great.
His response, someone says, "Oh, that doesn't matter." Like, it doesn't matter. Like hand in his face, like shot. He's, "Oh, that doesn't matter." He would just say, "Ain't no matter." I'm like, he used to say it all the time, and like now I say it to like mock him, but I don't think he understands that I'm mocking him.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, that's my catchphrase now."
Yeah.
No matter.
What is he bad at?
He said singing.
Singing?
Yeah, he said he's bad at singing.
But Dwight Powell said he was good at singing.
Dwight was full of crap.
Dwight
I think his accent makes it bad.
Dancing, fashion.
You keep bringing that up, but you bought his shoes.
I would say he's bad at fashion. I think obviously like, European style is different, so I'm not gonna. And also, I'm not gonna say like, I have the best fashion. I'm not gonna say that. Yeah, just English probably is number one.
Okay.
Jalen Brunson's the best. He's just leaning forward. He's just in it with us. He's a very personable guy. We loved having him on. And Luka's bad at English, which, hey, I can't blame him. It's like his fifth language or something like that, right?
Oh yeah, he speaks literally like 5. I was just talking to somebody about this today. Like how many languages he speak, and I'm like, I think it's 5. So it's crazy.
It's wild. That was a great answer for Brunson. Full interview again. We're shills for our YouTube channel. On the YouTube channel, go watch it. Great stuff from Brunson. That was not the whole interview. All right, couple others I did want to get to today. Sterling Brown gave us a little bit of a taste about playing for Coach Kidd. He played for Coach Kidd for a short amount of time, maybe like half a season or so in Milwaukee before Kidd was fired. And first of all, I'm amazed. Like Sterling Brown came back, right? All the horror stories you hear about Jason Kidd. Sterling Brown came back and decided to play for Jason Kidd. I think that is a positive in Jason Kidd's arena. It wasn't so bad that Sterling Brown was like, I'm never playing for that guy again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so let's hear from Sterling Brown on that.
When you played for Kidd your first year in the league, right? What do you remember about playing for Kidd as a coach?
I mean, he was, definitely hard on us, but it was good, because he wanted guys to, work really, put in that work, and that's what I did. Me and Jay Kidd always been cool, because we got kind of the same mindset. We always want to go out there, get after it, and nothing soft really. We hard nosed, and really that's really it.
Hard, but in a good way.
Also, it took everything inside of me not to ask Sterling to move his mic up because he sat the whole time with the mic on the table. But yeah, I mean, shocking. Jason Kidd, coached him hard in Milwaukee, and he signed up to play for him again. So that's something.
I think that's a positive in Jason Kidd's favor for sure. And said that they saw eye to eye because they always want to get after it. Sterling Brown wants to go hard, and the way Sterling Brown answered that question made me also. I want to share this one with you. This is a clip from our interview with Sterling Brown about defense. You wrote this question in our doc when we were trying to come up with questions before, and I thought this was great. What would you say to a young player that's learning about defense? And it gives you an insight into their mentality as a player about defense. And this team wants to get better at defense. And so this was Sterling Brown's answer. What would you tell a high schooler about playing defense in the NBA or just play basketball in general? What would you tell them?
Man, just go out there and give it your all. Don't worry about getting crossed. Don't worry about getting, nothing. Go out there hard nose, 94 feet if you can, and just stay with it. That's energy and effort. That's all defense is. Listen to the coaches. Absorb everything. Learn as much as you can. But as long as you got that energy and effort, the defense is gonna take you a long way.
He's a player that we talked about it earlier in his interview. 2nd round pick. This is his 5th year in the league. He's sticking around, and there's a reason for that. That's because he's not afraid of the hard work, and all that stuff he mentioned about defense is what he does.
And I love the don't be afraid to get crossed. It's like we asked Maxey about the Kawhi hoodie, and like that whole play and everything. Like Maxey went up for that. Not every player is going up for that, and it's kind of the similar thing when you're a good defender. Like you're gonna get dunked on, you're gonna get crossed, you're probably gonna fall over sometimes and be on a highlight type of thing, and that's just part of it. It happens to every good defender, and it's cool hearing that mindset from him.
All right, last one. We're talking about defense, and the Mavericks want to get better at defense. Reggie Bullock had a great answer about defense and about what team success means for the Dallas Mavericks, and I wanted to share this with you and talk about it a little bit.
Defensive team in New York last year. What makes a team good defensively? We've seen Kidd talk about it. Man, that's going to be one of the biggest pushing points of training camp. What makes a team good defensively?
Well, to me, I felt like just the trust that you have into it. you're not going to get everything right on the defensive end, but you can definitely play hard. You can definitely cover up for someone else's mistake. If I get blown by, I know that if I ran out to contest this guy on the three-point line, like a J.J. Redick or someone on the three-point line, he drive to the basket and get an easy layup. The back line should be there to protect me. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it start with that back line, and I felt like up in New York last year we had Nerls and Mitch back there, and that back line, once I get beat, I already know that somebody's going to be there. So it allows the guards to be more press up more on defense, and we know that my back line, if you go to that basket, is getting swatted. So and that's what we hung our hat on. So we was just out there just covering for each other, just trying to play hard.
What would you say a successful season is?
Yeah.
Second round, is it only title? How do you measure kind of success this year?
Success this year is being a top 10 defense.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I like that one.
We love that answer. We both said that. We're going to say it again. We love that answer. It's the only like tangible answer I think we got as far as product, not just like results.
Yeah, I mean, it's an actual goal that we can, look at as far as like stats wise to see how good of a defense, they actually are. And him referencing, I think that the paint presence that, Nerlens brought and Mitch Robinson brought up in New York, can Dallas have that this year? Can KP get back to being that paint protector and the anchor of the paint and defending the rim? Is, if they do run KP at the 4, which is what it's looking like, who's going to be that 5 that allows the Bullocks of the world, the Dorans of the world to really press on the perimeter, but get beat sometimes? Is it going to be Willie defending the paint? Is it going to be Moses Brown or Dwight or a different center? Like that's I wonder, we all wonder how Jason Kidd's going to coach his team, rotations, defense, offense, and everything. But I'm really curious to see how they are defensively.
And what they try to do. Are they going to drop like they've always, like the Mavericks have always done? Or are they going to try to press up? Are they going to try and, just stick Porzingis back there like Nerlens and Mitch Robinson do and roll
2-3 zone all day?
Are they can do that, right? LeBron talked about that on the Manning's Monday Night Football broadcast last night. They talked about a little zone on there. But yeah, that's the Mavericks want to be better defensively. And I'm glad that they brought in both Sterling Brown and Reggie Bullock, because I think they bring a mentality that the Mavericks really need. That they take pride on the defensive end and that they want to, help the Mavericks get better on that end. And so, I thought those were great answers from them. Again, all of their interviews are available on YouTube. In full. Like and subscribe. But we'll be back. There'll be more training camp tomorrow. The Mavericks play. We'll share more clips from our interviews and talk more about that. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs, making us your first listen every day. We will be back tomorrow with more clips from our interviews. Great stuff from, who are we talking to tomorrow? We're talking to Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. warmed up to us. Dorian Finney-Smith came in already warm and ready. Frank Ntilikina was also a real interesting one that we had just not talked to, and so we got to hear from Frank Ntilikina. Like the first time seeing him in a Mavs uniform was it's really interesting. So we'll be that. Make your second listen today. Locked On Fantasy Basketball with Josh Lloyd. He's doing an amazing job all the time. He's the GOAT. Everything he does, I try to just copy. I'm just let me just be. He gets a sound board. I get a soundboard. He does multiple episodes a day. We do multiple episodes. All that kind of stuff. I try to be like Josh Lloyd. Go listen to him. Thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.